Hey everyone, Pete here, continuing to Slay the Spire, and going to go through the now third character that we just unlocked through the Silent, and that is the Defect. Probably my favorite character that they have here, just because of how it behaves through use of orbs and elements, and really expanded upon kind of an extra layer of complexity that really gets you thinking. So we're just going to get started and walk through this. Okay, so as with the first time with Silent, you get the whale bonus, but not the really good ones. And we're going to get Slime Boss as boss here. So now we're going to look to see anything we can do elite wise. Looks like there's nothing that we can really get to, so there's not a lot of value in the 1 HP fights, and so we're just going to take the extra HP. Okay, so we're going to see if we can go down the free elite path, and we have little offshoots out. To get there, I think I'm going to go this route. See if I can pick up anything good in the shop. But now as I say that, I'm kind of double thinking it, and I think I would like this one better. Okay, so there's a new part of the interface here where now there's these orbs. The cracked core is what we start with, and at the end of each turn, these orbs have both a passive and an evoke state. Passive will trigger at the end of each turn, whereas evoke is when you either evoke it through a card, or if you fill up all of your slots and then try to bring another orb in, it'll push the forward one into evoke and it will just disappear. So there's lots to think about with the defect and how it will behave. Like right now, I can take out this slime, but it is RNG based, where I have a 50-50 shot and hopefully it'll work out. It did. And there's different things you can do to kind of reel that in and make it a little bit more determined as to what you're going to get. Like right here, I could evoke this twice to do 16 and guarantee that next turn I'll be able to take the slime out. So that's what I'll do. Alright, so first cards are Stack, which is good if you have larger decks and are going to go through discards. Overclock, probably too early to take it right now. And then we have Claw, which, I mean, we can take it early on, and we're at low Ascension, so it's not a big deal. This is a card that will accrue every time you use it. Just not sure if it's worth taking just yet. I think I'm going to skip it right now and just continue on. So here we have a choice between removing, transforming, and upgrading a card. It's not really worth it to me to remove cards at this point, because if you're going to do that, you might as well just see if you can get a better card with transform. Upgrading a card, probably not worth it, because we wanted better cards to upgrade. If we were to upgrade Zap, it would become 0 cost, same thing with dual cast, and this is where I tend to hold off on upgrading these until I go through at least Act 1. The main reason is Snecko Eye, and whether or not I would actually want to even keep these, because if I get rid of all my strikes, these are kind of the first candidates to remove next if I don't get something worse. So as of right now, just because we're getting so early, I'm going to be transforming a strike into something else, which is Blizzard. which right now is completely useless. The Blizzard will add up how many times you've triggered a Frost Orb, which provides block, and it'll deal attack based on that. We don't even have a way to create Frost Orbs, so right now Blizzard just does nothing. Okay, so we're seeing one of the real strengths of the Defect, where I could focus more on defense while my orbs were able to do a little bit of chipping damage, and then once I had enough, I was able to just go full force. So our first really good card, Doom and Gloom, AoE damage plus channel a Dark Orb. Dark Orbs are arguably the most powerful orbs for the Defect, mainly because of how they behave, and what they do is when you bring them in, when their passive is that they will actually just gain an extra, however big this number is, and add it to this blue number down here. And then when it evokes, it does that much damage to whoever is the lowest HP enemy. And there are a bunch of cards that just really push this well beyond even being reasonable, to where they can just do a ton of damage. And here's one of them, Consume, where we can actually get our focus to go up, and by raising our focus, the numbers increase by a certain amount for each of our orbs. Okay, so a bit of a rough fight there, but we made it through. Now we have Ball Lightning, a good attack card. Now that we had a heavy attack card, we got a skill, we have a card that does nothing, and now we have something that will allow us to add orbs. Alright, so sentries here. We have potions to deal with them. Kind of situation where we can just use the explosive potion to do some AoE if we need to. And we have fire potion if we need to take one down right away. So this is one of the times where I probably would want to use the fire potion, both to prevent too many dazed, but also to make it easier to actually target what remains. Now, one of the negative aspects of Consume is if you have an orb that's already here and you use Consume, it doesn't evoke it, it just gets rid of it. So right now the Dark Orb is not doing a lot of work just yet because it's kind of just sitting there, but that we're going to be changing when we move to the front like that. Seek is good, lets you bring any card you want to the front. We are lacking some defense. We could probably use a bit, so it looks good. And white noise is RNG. You can get a random power. Probably not worth it right. Okay, so just continue on. And we get one thing that could actually help us quite a bit just because we're not doing too well on health early on. We can use this to try and power through the 2 elites, get a couple more relics. We can use the sundial in order to actually try and get a little extra energy. And here's another very good dark orb. And the thing about this one is when you upgrade it, it will actually, when you summon it, it will also increase them by whatever their value is in one shot. So very, very good card if you're going dark. So I'm going to go Darkness and Lee's Waffle. And continue on. Bag of Prep. It's kind of like just a silent starting relic. You get 2 additional cards at the start of combat. We have Gremlin Knob. I think I'm going to start with this extra focus. Try and make this go on really quick. Try and just get front end damage and hopefully I can end this next turn. And I think I like that more than I like having the extra health, especially because there's a campfire right after. And now we can get our first Frost Orb with Cold Snap. And I think we'll upgrade Darkness to make those go better. We're going into another Sentry fight. I was hoping for a Lagavulin, but was not so lucky this time. I'm going to use the Fire Potion to just bring the damage down a bit, make this go a lot easier and smoother. Leveraging these potions just to really work for me a bit. Right, probably not worth consuming. So instead I'll just evoke, just continue on. So now we have our Darkness Orb in the front, and this is where we can just dual cast, do 24 damage twice. Static Discharge. If you're going to be taking a lot of damage like we've been, this is something to get a lot of damage out in return. If you have a lot of Frost Orbs, this helps kind of reduce damage a bit because it moves those Frost Orbs to the front and evokes them and reduces the damage that you're actually going to be receiving quite a bit. Rainbow is a good card for a variety of the 3 different orbs we've seen so far. I'm going to take Static Discharge just for energy concerns and because of how much damage we're taking. Alright, so once again, not going to take a curse. Don't think I can handle taking 24 damage, and I'm going to take 7 max HP down. We've gone up quite a bit already since the start, so I think we can handle it. Okay, so instead of healing, I'm going to remove a card. Low Paradiddles and Strikes, and going in with... I'm actually going to upgrade Static Discharge so that every time we get hit, we channel 2 Lightning Orbs. into Slime Boss. So Slime Boss behaves similar to the other slimes in that when it reaches half its HP, it will split in half, but it will do it twice. So it is something where the first time you split it is very important, because what you set it to really will affect how the next set of slimes will behave, or really when they'll split. So really want to set it up really well. We kind of got forced into it, so really just want to spend the rest of the time doing as much damage as possible, evoking as many lightning orbs. And now this is a very good split, because now they have 21 health each, so I might even be able to take one of these down. It looks like I probably will not be able to this time. And at least if it does split again like this one did, it won't be so bad, because then I can use something like AoE to just get rid of it all. Very, very good slime boss fight, and we have 3 good options. So we have an instant AoE with electrodynamics. So now every time our lightning orbs evoke, or actually every time they trigger or evoke, really, they will hit every single enemy that's on the field. So since we have a lot of lightning focus, it's a really powerful card. We have machine learning, which is compared to the other two, it's okay. It's a good one by itself, but we're just provided stronger options. Then we have fission, that will evoke all of your orbs that you have channeled and then give you energy for them. But what's even better is when you upgrade it, it'll evoke them as well. So one more thing that adds on the value of the darkness orb. I'm more concerned about AoE at the moment, and I like the value and synergy with lightning orbs, so I'm going to take electrodynamics. And we're presented with Sozu, where we pretty much will have no potions for the rest of the run. We have Black Star, where every time we fight an elite, we'll get 2 relics instead of 1. And then we have Tiny House, which provides a lot of small benefits, but really not something I'm a fan of. I tend to avoid it, and only if all the other options aren't good will I take it. I feel that we need a little bit more energy, so I'm going to take Sozu. Right. So again, I like to scan for elites first. This path looks pretty good. This one looks pretty good too. I think it's spaced out a little bit better too, with campfires and shops, so I'm probably going to go this way. I'm going to start here, see how this goes. Right, so now we have the avocado again, where it's a little bit harder with the defect, because not with the silent, where we could just rely very heavily on poison to just pull us through. We have to instead use orbs and attacks, and we don't have a very defensive heavy set of orbs. But, as you can see, when we get hit, we can deal quite a bit of damage back very quickly. Here we go, another Frost Orb. Pairs up very well with Lightning Orbs, especially when we are talking about using Static Discharge. Having Frost Orbs, especially more options that actually give us draw, like this one, helps out quite a bit. So just keep on going to the right. Right, so oftentimes with the thieves, you need to choose which one you're going to go after, but thankfully with electrodynamics, we can actually attack both of them. I'm going to put some defense and just try and reduce the damage a little. And that takes care of that. Alright, so with this selection, we're starting to move away from kind of the darkness side of darkness orbs. They still can be quite helpful, but they're not as prevalent as they could be. Recursion would help quite a bit if we wanted to continue going down that path, but we would need less aggressive options with all the lightning orbs, so having that mix in there just means we're kind of an all-around type deck rather than specializing in one or two orbs. Because of the lightning, that's where ball lightning might actually be good to have a second copy, make it show up twice as often. I think I like that idea. So very aggressive. Defect. Okay, remove another card. Of course, get more strikes out. Replace them with things like ball lightning. Here we have the last orb type available, which is plasma, which instead of providing damage or defense, it instead provides energy. Has a few very specific use cases, but not fitting into our current deck. Since we have a couple powers, we also have orange pellets available to us, and this becomes very useful as you proceed through the Spire, especially as you get to late Act 2 and all of Act 3, because the enemies rely more and more on different debuffs to really deal a lot of damage to you or keep you from doing a lot of damage to them. So having something that removes those debuffs is very, very helpful. Very strong relic right here. So I'm going to take that and just move on. So this would be an example where we can actually try and trigger. So this is where we've played attack, skill, and now if we play power, our vulnerability will be gone. We lost the debuff that we got from the fungi, and at least reduce the damage we're taking, just continuing on. Alright, so another set of frost orbs. Chill is a good one, especially when you upgrade it and you can actually make it shows up at the beginning of each combat, making it innate. That way you can get a lot of upfront defense. Right, so now we have slavers, which can be very scary if you don't have either AoE or can take them out very quickly. We have several sets of AoE, which may want to focus more on defense. A little spooked enough that I'm gonna build a potion, but did not get quite looking good. Not to block it. So we're going to be entangled now, which means we can't use any attacks, which now that we have a handful of attacks, it kind of sucks. We're going to focus on defense and get our AoE out. So you just saw one of the key benefits of having that discharge running by having them attack and having these trigger. One of the slavers actually went down and it no longer was able to attack us. So we kind of gained back the defense, really, or we just lost an attack against us. Got toy ornithopter, which is completely useless at this point because we don't have any more potions. Force field would be a 2-mana strong block card. The upgrade would be even better. It also incentivizes us to take more powers, which is kind of Defect's strong suits. And now I think increase our focus. Right, the boot. Not much to say about that one. Just does damage when we normally wouldn't. Go for the eyes. If they're attacking, we'll make them weak, just to try and reduce damage. Streamline, card that decreases cost every time you use it. And then Leap, which I think we have some good enough defense now. Alright, so I want to go to this elite, so I think I'm going to go to the campfire, heal up a little bit, just because I'm not feeling safe enough yet. See where we're going from there. Snake plant's a little bit scary, but we can at least reduce damage by combining frost orbs with static discharge while dealing damage back. So we're starting to see some of the powers where it'll actually make our orbs even more powerful by having them trigger additional times, so it's really a multiplier effect. Alright, so now we have a choice where we can just take a curse, we can gain max HP by losing some, or we can gain a relic that will heal us every time we pick up gold. And this one seems like a good choice to make. Alright, so now I'm going to take on the Elite, where we have the Gremlin Leader. This is a guy that throughout the fight he'll summon gremlins and have them fight for him throughout the whole. Right. So I'm going to rely a little bit on taking damage and having that deal some back. Taking exactly one, while killing the Gremlin Wizard in the process. Okay, so I think we still have electrodynamics coming, which is good, especially when you pair it with something like Loop, where it will trigger more and more, dealing more damage across the battlefield, really getting all of them. So with this time around, you can see that the Gremlin Leader's not really attacking. It's because I keep taking out the Gremlins themselves, and I'm getting some good RNG where he's just not going through his attack and buff cycles nearly as much as he could be. And it just made for a very easy fight. Alright, so Leap, I think we're good on defense for now. Beam Cell, just to apply vulnerability. We're not so much an attack-based deck as we are an orb-based deck, so not as appealing. I do like a second loop, especially when we upgrade the first one. We'll have even more loops to go through, but that might be all the ones that would end. And as I said before, incentivizing powers, and we're now at 4, so that force field will just cost 0 when we play it after we've put all of our powers in play. Alright, so now we have our Act 2 boss, the Collector, which works very similar to how the Gremlin Leader worked. We'll summon a couple of minions that will attack and keep us a little bit busy and focus down here instead of attacking here, just to keep ourselves alive. And then it will also apply a slew of debuffs and then try and hit us for a lot of damage while we're trying to keep the damage down with the entire set of these. So the strategy here for me is to keep the number of minions down and try and get our defenses up so that we don't take too much damage over time. And then once these are down, just change focus to just attacking here as hard as possible. This is the main debuff turn, and then after this, where the Collector will go towards more attacking, and then summon every so often as well. Okay, so once again, by using powers, skills, and attacks, we're able to get rid of all the debuffs we had and just continue on as if the never had him in the first place. And that's the collector. Alright, so no point in having a second electrodynamics. All I would do is just summon additional lightning for us. So it's really between bias cognition and fission. Now, bias cognition is particularly appealing because now we have orange pellets. We can get rid of the one big downside to bias cognition. We can get 4 focus and get rid of the debuff that gets rid of the 1 focus at the end of each turn. And we can often do it the same turn that we actually play bias cognition. So more often than not, it's just a really, really good card when we consider this. And that's just enough where I think it outscales Fission, where it's a one-time energy surge, whereas bias cognition keeps our orbs going strong throughout the fight. Alright, so 3 relic options. We have our energy relic, where we lose the ability to see their intents. The defect, if you can get a lot of frost orbs up, this is not a problem. This is where I don't think I need the energy at this point, where this is my first option. We have the empty cage, where we just get rid of 2 cards. I think we are at the point where removing 2 cards isn't as beneficial anymore. And then we have the Runic Pyramid, where we no longer discard our cards at the end of each turn, which I think is the best option here, because we have a lot of stuff we want to keep in our hand and play it in certain conditions. It lets us stockpile powers and attacks to make sure we can trigger orange pellets in just the right way. And we have enough energy to where we can play what we need to each turn. I'm going to take the Runic Pyramid and go on to Act 3, where we have Donu Deka. Alright, so not a whole lot of elites. Now with Bias Cog, I'm feeling particularly strong and think that I can take on more of them, so I might try and go this route. Might even try to stop by this shop. If for some reason things don't go well, I can just duck out to the campfire instead and just bypass the elite, and then see where we go from there. So I think I'll take this path right here. Have Orb Walker. Which gains 3 attack or 3 strength end of each turn, as it's just constantly attacking you. You have to be able to balance between attacking and taking it down quickly, but also defending in a way that you're not going to just be taking a ton of damage throughout the whole. Okay, so because we draw 5 cards each turn, we want to just try and make so that we don't so that we draw just enough cards each turn. And now we're going to put Bias Cog and show how well it works together. This one debuff the bias, where we can now, by playing one of each, we now just have a lot of focus for very little energy. Now we're going to put this into play, and now we basically have an orb that's going to be killing once we have a dual cast. Or we can just be carrying it. Right, we have Melter, which will just remove block and then deal damage. I don't think we need it. Blizzard, we already got one, and it's not doing enough heat by itself, so we don't want two of them. Hologram is a card where we can grab stuff out of our discard pile. I don't want that now. I don't think we need it. Okay. So now we have our AoE fight with the orbs or the shapes. Easy peasy. Take him down. Thanks to electrodynamics plus bias cog. Right. We have a cold snap, a claw, and a loop. I think we're good on all three of those. At this point, it's much more effective to upgrade the loop than it is to take another one. I think we're good on frost orbs for a little while. I don't think I need another one. And claws just not needed. Alright, so trying to just make so we can take AoE damage a little bit better. And hacking, getting the orb out of. Bias cog. Headed. Hack. Okay. Loop. And now the way that health is calculated is based off of the HP bar. It does not account for block, so if I were to play something that triggers this orb right now, it'll take this one out. It'll still have to go through the block itself. It'll still trigger on the spheric guardian instead of one of these. Right, sweep and beam, AoE plus draw, compile driver, where you can draw depending on how many orbs you have. So for my current situation, it would be up to 3 different cards, and then stack, which we've already skipped for reasons that we don't have a big enough deck to justify it. Alright, so this event, you would give up all your gold for the red mask, which applies weak to all enemies on the first turn, which 348 gold is probably not worth it. So don't skip it this time. Keep on going, especially when we consider that we're about to go into a shop. Right, so potion belt useless, or calcum could be useful. It really depends on how we're doing. It helps quite a bit and helps cover those turns where you just have almost no block, but really need to think about how we basically are keeping everything in our hand with Runic Pyramid, so it's really just about better planning. Obviously, no potions, so no matter what, I think card removal is a good idea. And we have another shop. We do have possibly another shop, but this might be our last shop, so it might be worthwhile just to take Orichalcum for the purpose of having something just to cover us. I'm going to take another chill as well, because it exhausts, and we want one that's just going to go through our deck instead of our opening hand. Okay. So we're going to take a little bit of upfront damage, but the best part about Orichalcum is that if you have 0 block, but you have orbs, Orichalcum triggers first, and then the Frost Orbs will trigger. Right, so Nemesis is an elite that every other turn it will be intangible, and it will go between these multi-hits to a very powerful hit to putting burns into your deck. So on the turns where it's intangible, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try and do a lot of damage because you're just really wasting it. You want to focus more on making sure you can actually survive each of the turns that are coming up and just getting through those bigger hits that you saw. So that's Nemesis taken care of. Be a very scary elite if you don't have a lot of block and you don't have a way to do quick damage on the turns that matter. Right. 3 cards that don't need or want at this point. At this point, I think we can start removing defend because we rely more on. Actually, I'm gonna get Blizzard out because it just fits in there doing nothing, and it's gonna continue sitting there doing nothing. Okay, so now I think it's time to bring Loop up, double the effectiveness of it, and keep on going. I think we're good enough where we can take on one more elite and be just fine. Darkstone Periot, pretty much going to do nothing because we're not going to be picking up any. We're not likely to pick up any curses for the rest of the run. Cool-headed's good. Another static discharge that could be good. I'll take cool-headed. So now I'm just trying to stockpile on a lot of my Frost Orbs to really make sure we can defend quite a lot as we're going into Donor Deck because they scale quite a bit. So we need to be able to defend a lot, but also deal a lot back quickly. There's obviously a theme that's going on where each time really just doing the same thing. Soon, just get these up and running better. So there's obviously a theme where I prioritize Viscod quite a bit, and that's because it does a lot of the work. It's really what's going to allow us to win this run. So now that we have 4 loops at once, if we have to defend the next turn, we want to put a Frost Orb up front. And if we need to do more damage quickly, we put a Lightning Orb up front. And if we want Darkness to actually pick up, we put that at the front to where we can just trigger it off at the end, at the next turn. Right. So by putting this one up front, it'll trigger 14 damage 4 times, and then we can dual cast it. Get a few of these defense out. Right, so one turn, we're at 90 damage for 180 really. And that's the benefit of Biascog, Loop, working together. Taking out the giant head a lot faster than we did with the Silent. Multicast. Multicast pairs very well with Darkness, and really anything that you have a lot of focus on. I don't think I need it. I think it would more clog than help at this point. And I'm going to skip it. So, really late, we have the opportunity to transform a card. And it's really about what we would want to transform and if it's even worth it at this point. If anything, it'd probably be Defend. I would want to keep my dual cast. It might be a Zap. These are the only cards I'd really want to transform. So, on average, I think most cards at this point will be better than our Defends. Maybe less so the Zap now with our deck right now. I'll give it a try. Reboot, a good replacement, but does not necessarily help us very much. Right, so now a question of if we want to gain the extra 13 health or if we want to upgrade a card. I think the health is more important than an upgrade at this stage. So, we're going to go into the fight against Donu and Deka, where one will buff while the other one will defend over the course of the fight. In general, unless there's a good reason to, I take out Donu first because it's the one that's going to be doing a lot of the buffing. So right off the bat, we have our AoE, so we might even be able to take both of them out pretty quickly. Check to see if I can get Biascog started. I can. So I'll add a little bit of defense. Want that so that I can actually defend the whole time. And now fully defended while also preparing for the next turn. Right, so now electrodynamics is very important. Chill for defense. Almost fully defended, now we're fully defended. And just keep on going at this rate. So we just happened to get a lot of the good cards that we needed to make this work very well. And this is probably going to be a very quick fight. And since we are more focused, or more concerned about making sure we can defend each turn, that's why I'm going to have Frost Orbs up front a lot. And unless I completely screw up, that's where I'm going to try and have one Frost Orb up front, and then probably try to have at least one Lightning Orb, and then one will be kind of in between, depending on what order I had to go in. Right, so probably a good reboot because we got a lot of the dazes out of our hand or out of our deck. And this will be one of the times where we don't have a Frost Orb up front, so we're going to spend a little bit more extra time attacking or dealing a lot of damage. And we might even be able to take out Donu this turn. Looks like we can't, but we are able to almost actually take 1 damage, which gets rid of our artifact, not artifact. Our one buffer charge, which would have made it so that we could take a lot more. So kind of a waste. And that's Deca. And that's the Defect. Right, so just like with Silent, we're able to get through the endings, see that we're able to reach our conclusion and our end screen. Our unlocks going all the way up. Right, and then we get our first set of unlocks. Really good power right here, and a couple of situational cards. Equilibrium can help quite a bit if you have good energy. Rebound if you have cards that you can want to throw to the top of your draw pile again and again. It's good, but very situational. Right? So that's where we're going to proceed, and we get our last character, the Watcher. The Watcher is a very unique character. I mean, they're all kind of unique from each other, but this one is... it goes in a very different direction from everyone else, and it requires a very different mindset altogether. What is this magnifying glass? Okay, so next time will be the Watcher, and then we're going to circle back and try and get the Ironclad to be completed so that we can start doing ascensions and keys and part fights. Okay, so here we go. Now we have 2 keys unlocked, and then we just gotta get the Ironclad, and then we're good to go. Alright, so that's been the Defect, Slay the Spire. Like this content, be sure to subscribe. Thank you, have a good day.